joining us now in the studio is public affairs analyst Dr. Emefor, who is super excited. The fact that he was able to cast his ballot and even came in waving his thumb and showing us that he...
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Dr. Emefor.
Thank you for hosting me.
All right, so aside from casting your ballots, you did have an opportunity to observe, the process here in the nation's capital. Talk to us about your observations, especially where INEC needs to, get a thumbs up and where we can give them a knock for a better tomorrow.
Yeah, I think on the whole, Federal Capital Territory was fairly okay in all departments of the game. If I must use that word, game. And I think INEC was largely on top of the game. But there are a few areas that, made me really wonder what happened to the last 4 years. Late report of INEC officials, at their duty posts. It's supposed to be 8:30 in the morning, but on the average, that didn't happen until about maybe 10 a.m. in the morning. I think INEC should have been able to solve that problem. Even though they could have a ready excuse that we have problem of Naira crisis, logistic problems.
Can we use the Naira crisis as an issue? Because a couple of days ago, even just yesterday, the INEC chairman can be quoted to have said, the part where we need cash, the CBN did provide all we need.
Yes, and yes.
Can we use that as an excuse?
The chairman of INEC admitted that CBN had already taken care of their logistic problems. That is why I'm worried that they weren't able to live up to expectations where it comes to taking care of reporting on time. And you see, this has implications because you say voting will have to commence 8:30 and end at 2:30. And who is not in the queue online before 2:30 is out of it. That has implications because somebody would report early enough in the morning and INEC is not there. You say, let me get home and come back. The time lost cannot be lost on that individual. It should be lost on INEC. So I think that the law ought to be when INEC reports, there should be a window of 4 hours, 6 hours, and that should be it for me. And that is not the case now. And I think that INEC didn't do well in that aspect. And it's not just FCT. What I gathered across the country is the general trend. It means that this same problem of late reporting to the duty post across the country has been the case. And generally also, like I said, I think every other thing discounted. FCT was largely peaceful. And I voted down.
How much, sorry, Dr. Emefor, how much does this impact, the psyche of the people? This kind of tendentious, I'll use that word, electoral process, where the people find it.
For me, as a psychologist, in my opening glee, I said that you report 8:30 as they determined, and you can't see the process on. You go home, you come back. It's demoralizing. It's depressing. A lot of people won't come back. And even when they do, they may come very late. And when they come late and they can't get into the line and get accredited and then vote, there is a problem. It means that if this number is quite extensive, it's going to account for a significant number of people who were disenfranchised by INEC tardiness. INEC not being able to live up to its own expectations because they set these standards for themselves. Nigerians didn't do so. INEC promised Nigerians that they are this time ready to do something different, give us free, fair, credible, acceptable election and its outcomes that will meet irreducible minimums, world, global standards That's what all of us expected.
Absolutely. And of course, let's look at the fact that, one word that keeps sticking out for every time you speak to a lot of the observers all across the country is the sheer determination, especially on the part of the Nigerian youths. So that brings me to my next question to you. As a psychologist, at the end of the day, the determination is there, but of course we've seen the lapses on the part of INEC. Are you worried that some of this lapses on the part of INEC, like you have highlighted and even other observers have as well, do you think it will have a likely implication on the number of people who eventually cast their ballots? Let's not forget the youths make up almost 40% of the almost 87 million collected PVCs that we have in Nigeria.
Yeah, I think the youths are determined this time. I saw a lot of them where I voted here in Abuja, Area 1 primary school. Over 5,000 of us there. Under sun, much later rain, people were determined. They stood, through the thick and thin, determined to cast their vote and have a count. But that is not to say that they are happy with the treatment they received. I think Nigerians deserve a lot more. And for me also, I think the Nigerian youths should be applauded, this time around. You know why? In the election cycles in this dispensation since 1999, Nigerian youths have not quite been forthcoming. You see so many of them playing football on the election day, watching Nollywood and all that. But this time, they were quite eminently available, ready to cast their vote. And they went through a lot. I saw it. There was shine, there was rain, and they went through all.
Okay.
So kudos to them.
Absolutely, yes. Kudos to the Nigerian.
I think it's good.
Yeah, they want to take back their country, and that is really very possible. But let me ask you, with your experience, though limited to the Federal Capital Territory, is the process improving from your perspective?
I think the process is improving. And I say so advisedly. If you check what happened in the last presidential election, 2019, compared to this time around, I think it's a marked improvement. Because, going by the place I voted and the information I gathered from across the country, I think many more people are eager to be part of the process. And this is very significant. Because when you have more people join the process, what that means is that many more people would determine who would become the leader, obviously, at any level. That in itself is a marked improvement. And I think in the final analysis, even though they are not part of what you may call the primaries that yielded the people that are now bearing the flags of the political parties,
right.
They are deciding amongst the people presented to them who they believe is the best option. And I believe that at the end of the day, at least 50%, they would be able to say, this is what it should be between now and the next 4 years at presidential, senatorial, and the House of Representatives.
Dr. Emefor, let me come back to a question we actually posed across to Samson a little earlier with regards to voter turnout. Despite the fact that the last election we had about over 80 million registered voters, if you look at the number of those who eventually cast their ballot, it was quite abysmal. Are you optimistic that this time around, now we have about 93 million registered voters, about 87 million of them did collect their PVCs. Yeah. Are you optimistic that we might get beyond that 35% vote cast like we saw in 2019?
I'll be surprised if we don't hit 40 to 45% this time. I will really be surprised.
Or even more.
Yeah, it should be up to, more. I believe it should be up to 40,
it should be
45%.
About 60, 70%.
Yes,
the kind of
and that will be, and that will be an increment in a build-up, an increment of what you may call 20 to 30%. And I believe that is commendable enough. It shouldn't be too radical. And of course, if you look at it, the number of new registrants we added to the pool, just about 10 million. What that means is that you added about 10 to 20% new registrants.
But there is a new orientation. You have to.
That's what I'm saying.
Even those who had the PVCs but never bothered to.
That's the point I wanted to bring into the mix. That even though the average has always been 35 to 37%, apathy has been the rule all the while.
Absolutely.
Now, there is a remarkable improvement. People are prepared to vote this time around.
An improvement that began with the EndSARS revolution, is now being translated into the ballot boxes.
Apart from EndSARS, my hero for this election is President Muhammadu Buhari. Do you know why? He insisted on free, fair, credible, acceptable election. And he's determined, he's pushing it through. And that inspired the confidence you're seeing now. People believe that their vote can count this time around. And that is all we need. And we saw it under Jonathan. We are seeing a repeat of that history under Buhari. I give it to him.
He should be commended, really.
Let me also extend my heroic performance to INEC, but they must go the whole hog. INEC has to do a lot more to be able to earn my respect and the IG of police and his name.
I like the fact that you've touched on. I like the fact that you touched on the IG of police.
Dr. Emefor,
Dr. Emefor, at the end of the day,
their praises,
really,
before we start praising them, let them know we need more.
Absolutely. Prior to these elections, the IGP of police had announced over 400,000 police officers deployed all across the country to ensure that, we have a smooth process. And there was a promise of at least 2 police officers
per polling unit.
Some of the videos we saw online, especially coming out of Lagos, must be troubling to someone like you, for instance. And one wonders, where's the gap? We have the officers deployed out there, but yet we saw what happened with the burning of even polling materials, and people even chased away from even casting their ballots.
And the police changing into mufti to run away.
You see, you don't blame such a policeman who changed into mufti to run away from a mob that could really have them killed. You see, Nigerian policing system is faulty, Ebenezer, fundamentally. I have always faulted it, even on this platform, that you cannot have 400,000 policemen and women police 210 million Nigerians. It's impossible. Centralized policing system is the bane of what we are following through now. You see, Baba Alkali, the IG of police, is here in Abuja. And you are talking about 36 states, 774 local governments, 8,812 wards, and 176,000 polling units. You want the IG of police to sit down in Abuja and police all of them? It is not possible.
He has officers and men to do that.
Now the officers. Can I drop this? Then you come in. I get where you are coming from. I'm not making excuses for the police. I don't speak for them.
But that's what you're doing.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'll tell you where the problem is. The system that is unworkable cannot work because of one-off election. What happens is that, don't forget, you have 36 governors that enjoy immunity. And the CPs, the police commissioners, seemingly are under them. So what do you expect? That is where the problem is coming from. Thank you.
Sorry, Dr. Emefor, sorry, we're going to end the show now because we don't have all the time. There'll be more analysis, more discussions. Is definitely continuing. Our studios is still open another 24 hours.
Public Affairs,
thank you.
Thank you so much for helping.
The pleasure is mine.